Hi, I'm Chris Walker with RIO Products, and today I'd like to introduce a new fly line that I'm particularly excited about, and that is the Tarpon Clear Tip Floater. Now this is a full floating tarpon line that has a really unique feature, and it has everything to do with the color of the line. So as you can see here, the first 10 feet of this line, despite being a floating density, is crystal clear. And that's obviously a huge advantage on the flats because fish are less likely to see your line when it hits the water. And that allows you to present a fly closer to a fish that happens to come across your casting range. The other colors on this line are significant too because they are opaque. So behind that 10 feet, you've got an opaque seafoam color, and then in the running line, a sand color as well. And that's really helpful because you can see that opaque seafoam color just behind the clear section, and it allows you and your guide to track the progress of the fly throughout the retrieve. So that sounds like a really simple idea, right? A clear floating line to not spook fish, but there's actually quite a bit of technology that goes into making that line. And we've had to develop an entirely new coding system at RIO to make that possible. And we call that coding system Gin Clear technology because it produces a gin clear floating line. So what we've done is we've started using a resin for our fly line coatings that is naturally buoyant. And what that means is you don't have to add any microballoons or foaming agents to make that coating less dense than water and to keep it floating. And that's really what enables that crystal clear floating tip on this fly line. So we've got this really nice new coating technology, and equally significant is we're applying it to our direct core material as well. And that's a low stretch monofilament, which is really helpful in tarpon fishing because the fish have really hard bony mouths. So once a tarpon has taken your fly and you strip set, you don't want your core to stretch a ton because that just deadens the force at the fly. If you're using a direct core line, you do that strip and you apply more force directly to the point of the fly, and that results in more fish landed rather than just jumped. So those are the materials that make this a great tarpon line. And in addition to material, we've used a classic Tarpon Taper from the RIO catalog. It's the same taper that you would get in an elite tarpon line or a premier tarpon line. And it's a nice versatile taper because it has about a 40-foot head. And that's a really nice balance between being long enough to carry line and make a nice accurate cast, and short enough to shoot line quickly to a fast-moving fish or a fish that pops up really close to the boat. The last feature I'll talk about with this line is that right in the box, it comes with 2 RIO fly line cleaning towelettes. And that's because tarpon fishing generally presents a set of conditions that's pretty tough on a fly line. You have a really hot boat deck usually, the line tends to spend a lot of time dry on the deck of the boat. So every time you make a cast and strip that line in, you're adding a little bit of salt residue or whatever other grime may be out in the water. So what I'll do typically on a tarpon boat is I'll take one of these out with me, and throughout the day I'll periodically run it up and down the length of my line, and that removes any grime that I may have collected and also adds a layer of silicone to keep that line shooting and performing at its peak. I like to bring these along in a plastic bag when I'm on the flats, and that's because once you've unwrapped that wipe, you can just stick it back in that bag and use it again 3 or 4 more times throughout the course of the day. So that's the Tarpon Clear Tip Floater, and if you plan on chasing tarpon anywhere that fish are line shy or heavily pressured, I suggest you check it out online or at your local RIO dealer. Thanks for watching.